Hey everybody, welcome to Local Business Hacks Podcast. I'm your host, Carl Case, and I'm on a mission to help you. Every week, we're going to be talking to local business owners and experts to get their best tips, tricks, and hacks to grow your business. This show is designed to teach you, inspire you, and motivate you to take massive action and start to build your future-proof business. Whether you're just starting off or you're taking your existing business to the next level, this episode is for you. So let's get started. What's up, local business hackers? I'm your host, Carl Case, Head of Business Development at Referrizer, joined today by CEO and founder of everbowl, Jeff Fenster. Jeff, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, man. So excited to be here. Happy Tuesday, I think it is.
Yep. So, Jeff, obviously you don't overnight become the CEO of a very emerging food brand in the States. How did this journey happen?
Well, specifically for everbowl or my background?
Tell me you, man.
I'm that kid who had no idea what he wanted to do when he grew up and kind of jumped around a million times. Went to law school to be a sports agent, had a job lined up with Lee Steinberg Sports Agency. And my third year of law school, ended up having a kid and getting engaged and graduating with six figures in law school loans, and decided I didn't want to pursue that. So no idea what I was going to do when I grew up. And so I got a job selling payroll for ADP, the payroll company. Fortunately, was very successful there. My first 6 months there, I was the number one sales rep in the country, utilizing some sales strategies that I had mentors had taught me and I had developed in high school and college. And I was 24 and a half years old at this time, and baby, fiance, new house, law school loans. And my company owed me $17,000 base increase. And I went to them in January of 2007 and said, I'd like my pay increase. They told me I had to wait to the end of the fiscal year. And that wasn't until June. So I wouldn't get the money until starting in July. And my whole world stopped. And back then there was no thing entrepreneur. That was not a word. There were business owners and employees. Yeah. And so there was no path. I never thought about entrepreneurship. I never thought about owning my own company. And so I went home that night very disheveled, feeling like a prisoner, just seeing my future. You had that moment where you kind of see what the future is going to be for you. And I realized I was going to spend the rest of my career waiting for recognition and compensation that I had earned, but I had to wait for these timeframes. And so I went to my fiance, who's now my wife, and I said, listen, I want to quit my job, sell the house we just bought, and move you and our daughter Olivia into my parents' house and start my own payroll company. And she was supportive. And so legitimately went in the next day, threatened to quit if they didn't give me the money. They called my bluff. I quit. Started my own payroll company with a buddy out of my mom's kitchen. And that was kind of the foray in entrepreneurship. And fast forward from 2007 till 2016, I ended up selling the payroll company in 2011, recruiting agency sold in 2012, a digital marketing agency I sold in 2015, a handful of failures along the way. And then 2016, I was kind of semi-retired-ish, driving my wife and kids crazy. And they said, go do something. You're driving us crazy. And so my passion is health and wellness. And my passion is helping everyone be the best version of themselves. And so I looked at that space and I said, hey, you know what? There's an opportunity here to reinvent the healthy eating crisis in America. The average American eats fast food 3.2 times a week. And there's all these reasons why people don't eat right when we know we should. And it's like smoking, it's bad for you. Why do you do it? And so I started everbowl with the whole, basically as a passion project. And like all things, I only do things either 100% or not at all. And so I did 100%. And fast forward 6 years, we have 60 open stores across the country, 300 more coming. And there's a construction fabrication company I started to help drive that. And that's a huge revenue driver for us. There's a product manufacturing company called Unevolved Products I started to help solve our supply chain issues as well. And now we have a direct to consumer line. And now we're about to launch a few other new fun products and services. And that's how we got here, the quick and dirty.
Wow. Jeff, congrats, man, on the family, the successes, the continued learning from your lessons and taking that leap, which everybody should always do. As soon as you think it, do it. And bravo, brother. That is amazing. And how can people get involved with everbowl from a franchisee, franchise consumer perspective? What's the best way?
Well, obviously going to everbowl.com/franchise to learn if you're interested in franchising. We do have a unique model and system. So whether or not you end up franchising everbowl, it's worth exploring and learning. I tell this to every potential franchisee, so I'll say it here, which is you should go in with the idea of finding a reason not to move forward. And if at the end of the rainbow, neither of us have a reason not to move forward, let's move forward because we evaluate you just as much as you should evaluate us. But we're also a tribe. It's a community. It's all about the unevolved lifestyles on the front of our shirts. I'm wearing a sweatshirt because it's actually raining in San Diego today, but normally you'd see that. And it's about connecting with like-minded humans that want to be the best version of ourselves, live actively, and eat stuff that's been around forever and make some money doing it. And so if you're interested in that kind of a community, I recommend you check us out. Otherwise, I would love to connect with everybody. I've built my career on relationship capital. That's one of the secrets to how I was successful at ADP and all my ventures. And so reach out to me directly and we can become friends. And that's at Fenster Jeff on social or jeff@everbowl.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
So diving in, as you have done a myriad of entrepreneurship over your last 10 plus years in this space, let's dive further. So
Perfect.
Obviously creating an emerging brand in what I believe is the most competitive space, which is food. And then you got fitness right behind it. I would say you're targeting that customer that is both in food, fitness, and in that well-being space. What are some tips and tricks that you've seen throughout your world in this space? I'm going to leave it really open. If you want me to pick a topic, I can, but keep in mind, we're local business hacks. So anything that you've learned, we'd love to learn from.
Yeah. So I knew nothing about restaurants when I started everbowl. I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know anything about it. And I think 9 out of 10 restaurants fail. And I'll use restaurants because that's what you mentioned. So for the restaurateurs out there, 9 out of 10 restaurants fail is the old adage. There's a reason. It's because 9 out of 10 restaurants are started by chefs, and nothing against chefs. But you got to remember, you could be a great chef. You got to understand that there's a business, an underlying business behind your restaurant. I don't care how great your food is. If you don't understand business underneath it, it's not going to be successful. So treat it like a business. Treat your restaurant inside and your food like a chef. But when it's time to put the business hat on, treat it like a business and understand you got to get customers, you got to control costs, you have to have marketing, you have to make sure that the P&Ls make sense. You have to understand how all that flows. You have to understand regulatory issues and rules and all those pieces. So that's ground level. And I think that's why I'm able to do a lot of different businesses, is because the underlying concept of business is the same. But to drive customers into my restaurant, I didn't overthink it. A lot of restaurants come with this 50% off coupon. I don't want coupons. I want customers. And so what I did, and the way we launch stores, is we do a friends and family and give away a whole bunch of free food. The first day we open, we say, come on in and try it. Because if I can get a majority of the community that is interested in my kind of food or my kind of affair to come in and try it, well, guess what? They're either going to like it and come back, or they're not. And I'm going to adjust the menu and try again. I don't have to wait 3-4 months of paying rent and paying labor and paying food costs and struggling to get customers to come in and try it for the first time. I want to get that done day one, right out the gates. So one hack that I did was just give away free food. And it's amazing how people come for free food. It's not rocket science, right? But that's step one. So if I was launching any restaurant, I don't care what space it is or what kind of food it is, give away free food first day, first week, first month. Make the investment in the food itself to give customers the opportunity to try it, get their feedback, adjust and pivot the menu if necessary. Hopefully you nailed it. And then if you did, focus on culture. And when I say that, I focus on my employees and my employees focus on my customers. So the 2 rules at everbowl are make friends and have fun. And that starts with us. We have to be friends with each other. We have to create that environment. It's not a transaction. Food and music are 2 things that we use as humans in every life event, from birth to death and everything in between. And so if you understand the human emotion that goes behind eating as well as music, and since I'm in the eating side, that's what you need to hone in on and understand that if I walk into a fast food restaurant and the person behind the counter is, what would you like? Clicks 3 buttons and lets me go. The food is going to be as good as the food is going to be.
Yeah.
But there is proven science that says that if you connect emotion behind food, it tastes better. Just like music. When you watch the Rocky montage of Rocky training with the music sounds better than when you just put it on your radio and you're driving, because you have that human emotion. So connect with the customer. And that's what we focus on at everbowl. And that's what restaurants should focus on, which is when you come into the restaurant, focus on that customer. Find a reason to connect with them. And what I teach my team to do is everyone has either something on their attire, a bracelet, a watch, a hat, a shirt, a kid with them. Find something to ask. Be more interested in them than interesting. And so if I walked in my own restaurant, I would love someone to say, oh, cool bracelets. What are these? And then I could talk about them, because people like to talk about themselves. And in that 3-minute, 2-minute, 1.5-minute interaction, if you can get the customer to open up and express something about themselves and feel good about that encounter, when they get the food, they're going to like it better. It's going to taste better. And they're going to have a positive reflection on that establishment and leave, and most likely come back and most likely tell a friend.
I love that. That's amazing advice. I want to ask you, because I think you're personal enough to say a funny story or two that you've experienced in both being an operator to selling franchises.
Sure. Yeah. First day I opened everbowl and actually was charging for it. It was about 2 hours had gone by and no customers because we had just given away legitimately 600 bowls the night before. So everyone who had thought about us came for free food. So it's me and my first hire. His name's Ben Burkhalter. He's the first person I ever hired at everbowl. We're sitting in Poway, California in our first restaurant, 2 hours of crickets. And I'm looking at him kind of nervous, like, this might have been a mistake because I had never owned a restaurant before. We'd given them the free food. So I was like, well, they came for free. Will they come when we charge? And a guy walks in and he's sitting in the restaurant. He's looking at the menu and it's probably like 30 seconds, but it felt like 2 hours. And finally, I say to him, I welcomed him when he came in. Hey, welcome to everbowl. How are you? Let me know if you have questions. Yeah, no problem. He's staring at the menu. And finally, I'm like, sir, is there anything I can walk you through or explain to you? And he goes, yeah, I don't know what any of this is. Can you make me eggs and bacon? We don't sell eggs. We don't sell bacon. We don't have an oven. So I was like, uh-oh. So I ended up giving him a free bowl and taking him through the experience. But that moment when he said, do you make eggs and bacon, was the very first customer I ever had at everbowl asked me for eggs and bacon. So that's my little funny operator story. And what was the other part? Operator.
You got one on the selling a franchise.
Well, I don't really have a funny franchise sales story. I don't really sell franchises. We attract or try to attract people to join our community. We've never spent any money advertising franchise. I speak and I talk about what we do at everbowl. And through that, we find people who are like, hey, you know what? I resonate with this and I want to do it. I don't have a funny story with that I can think of. Let me think about it. If it comes to me while we're talking, I'll circle back. Yeah.
No worries. Well, it's amazing how many times you go to a restaurant and you've been there 50 times and they have no clue who you are. And know your customer. Basis 101 of everything. So I definitely love the info that you shared with us and it's incredible. I'm excited to try everbowl myself as a customer.
Well, we're coming to your neck of the woods. We're opening in South Florida soon.
Awesome. Jeff, well, I appreciate it. And thank you for being a guest on our podcast and sharing your story with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure. And I think what you guys do with restaurant technology to add, that's the last element to business that I think chefs out there need to really focus on, which is, again, you're a chef, you're great at making food. If I can give you my words of wisdom is find technology partners, find tools and things that business owners need to use to be more efficient and effective at running the business. So you can focus on making good quality food. So many great restaurants die because the business fails, but the food was great.
Yep.
And so many bad restaurants succeed with bad food because the business is working. And so my goal in life outside of everbowl is I like to eat. So I want good restaurants to survive and good chefs and operators to learn how to be better at what they do. So I love what you're doing. I appreciate it. I obviously excited to come on and get to share a little bit of the everbowl story, but I'm also a huge fan of your show. So thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to hanging out with you in South Florida when we open the everbowl and I'm not sitting in this San Diego weird rain.
Same here, Jeff. And cheers to you and your family. And congrats again on all the success.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's it for this week's episode. I hope you found it helpful. Be sure to head over to our site, local-business-hacks.com, to check out the show notes and send me questions or ideas for future episodes. If you want to grow your business, just like the people you've heard from here, follow Local Business Hacks Podcast and tune in for new tips, tricks, and tactics. Until next time, thanks for listening and keep hacking.